Hello, welcome back to Champion News. I'm Reyes-Serna and this is your weekly news. For this week's sports, in wrestling, our very own champion Nicolas Mesa has represented Cesar Chavez across the state after taking down the weight class's top competitor Owen Proper. Mesa was the only athlete who was able to defeat the number 1 seed in the weight class, which he did as the 8th seed. With that, our winter sports have now come to a close after the girls' varsity basketball team finally finished their season as back-to-back champions of the Metro region. We now have spring sports rolling out as the varsity softball and baseball teams have already got their season started as of last week. On Monday, the girls had their second loss of the season after traveling out to Haley High School. The boys had their first game outside of the Levine Baseball Classic against Haley High School on Tuesday night. The boys were able to bring a win, turning out their overall record to 2-2. Both teams will take on West Point High School this Thursday, with the boys heading on the road for their game. The boys and girls tennis season has also got a start, with both teams already finishing their second games against Chaparral High School. The boys took a loss in their matchup, dropping their record to 0-2 at the start of the season. The girls' team had a tough loss in their second match, dropping their record to 0-2. Finally, the boys' volleyball season is the latest team to get their season going as they played their second match against Marcos de Niza High School on Tuesday night. The boys dropped their record down to 0-2 after taking a difficult loss on the road. For local news, 2 men are expected to be convicted for federal drug charges after being found with nearly 50,000 fentanyl pills on Tuesday. Federal DEA agents were flagged about the suspects Eduardo Valenzuela Lopez and Jael Gonzalez Bañuelos, moving to distribute the pills and caught up with them around 67th Avenue and Van Buren Street. Authorities have released a statement that explains that the agents approached the suspects. They began to shoot at the agents, who returned fire. Nobody was injured during the shootout, and authorities reported that they took the 2 into custody, while also collecting a firearm used to shoot at the agents and the fentanyl pills that were stored in the passenger compartment. With the amount of drugs found in their possession, Lopez and Bañuelos could face charges of 10 years to life in prison, alongside a steep $10 million fine. For news across the country, former President Bill Clinton took part in a deposition on Friday after several months of the House Oversight Committee trying to get a testimony from both Bill and Hilary Clinton. The Clintons faced questioning about their involvement with Jeffrey Epstein after their names were listed numerous times throughout the Epstein files. On Thursday, the former First Lady took part in a 6-hour private deposition and a public press conference following, where she stated, "It was disappointing that they refused to hold a public hearing, so I wouldn't have to be out here characterizing it for you." Mrs. Clinton commented that the House Oversight Committee gave her repetitive questioning and emphasized her refusal to return in front of the committee, whether public or behind closed doors. She added that Bill Clinton ended his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein several years before anything about Epstein's criminal history came to light. 42nd U.S. President Bill Clinton had his turn on Friday. Clinton provided statements telling the officials that he had no idea of the crimes Epstein was committing. He added on by saying, "I saw nothing and I did nothing wrong." Representative Nancy May of the South Carolina stated that Clinton attempted to answer all his questions, even with opposition from his lawyers. Around the world, the United States, Israel, and Iran are at the highest degree of tension and conflict after the U.S. and Israel organized attacks against Iran on Saturday morning. In the American operation labeled as Epic Fury, the United States military launched strikes against Iranian targets like air defense systems, drone launch points, and military airfields. Israel acted alongside the U.S. as they fired strikes at approximately 1 a.m. Eastern Time, with Israel Defense Ministry releasing a statement saying they launched preemptive strikes, in expectation of drone and missile strikes being launched in the immediate future. Iran has vowed to retaliate in response to the U.S.-Israeli campaign. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed by the strikes, according to Iranian state media. One new Iranian cleric stated that he hopes a new supreme leader will be quickly appointed. The conflict has sparked widespread retaliation across the region, including drone and missile attacks on Israel and U.S. bases in the Gulf, alongside civilian infrastructure such as hospitals being affected amid growing instability. Global leaders are warning the risk of further escalation and calling for restraint. In a video released by President Trump on Saturday, he urged the people of Iran to stay inside as more strikes are made.
Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take.
He added on a Truth Social post that the bombings would continue throughout the week or as long as necessary. On Monday morning, 3 friendly F-15 jets were shot by Kuwaiti air defense fire, resulting in 6 U.S. pilots ejecting from the aircrafts. United States Central Command has acknowledged the incident alongside Kuwait officials and reported that all members were recovered safely. United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced that they would grant the United States access to use British bases strictly for defensive purposes as the conflict continues.
The United States has requested permission to use British bases for that specific and limited defensive purpose. We have taken the decision to accept this request.
Across several countries, there are celebrations and protests to the U.S.-Israeli offensive action. In the Iranian city of Yazd, government supporters were gathered chanting "Death to America." That's all we have for you today. For more news, check out our social media and head over to championnews.org. I'm Reyes-Serna, and we'll see you next time.